not doing that. All right, you can stay there. Right. Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to Football Discussions. Today I'm joined with a very special guest named Max Szotak, my classmate at high school. We're both very big into the 2020 NFL Draft. So let's get started with our 3-round mock with trades. Max, you want to take – what we're going to do is we're going to alternate pick for pick. We already have trades in place. We'll explain those trades when we get there. Max, you want to take first or second overall?
They're both easy enough. I'll take first. Why not?
This is a hard one.
Yeah, super hard one. Bengals need a quarterback, best quarterback on the board. Joe Burrow right there. I think it's a super easy pick, and it's the start of a new era in Cincy.
So Joe Burrow selected with the Bengals. With the second overall pick, I'm going to go Chase Young, edge rusher out of Ohio State. Another pretty simple pick. Chase Young is a beast, probably the best player in this class. Put up unreal numbers at Ohio State, comparable to both the Bosas in the same system, so should translate straight to the NFL like the Bosas have. So Chase is an easy pick at number 2.
Number 3, there's been some talk of Tua Tagovailoa. Could go Isaiah Simmons here. I personally like Jeff Okudah here. I think with or without Darius Slay, this is a perfect fit for the Lions. Back-to-back Ohio State players, 3 straight players that played at Ohio State. And I think it's a good fit for the Lions. They need to start rebuilding that defense. No trade here. They get Okudah.
Yeah, I like Okudah a lot. Solid player, great length, great tangibles, good at man, good in zone, very talented. So I like that pick for the Lions a lot. Here at 4, a player I could see going, as I say, Simmons lit up the combine. Definitely some hype here, but when it comes down to it, you got to protect your young quarterback and Daniel Jones. And the best tackle, in my opinion, in this class is either Tristan Wirfs or Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton's got the size, coming in at 6'7", 369 pounds. I think he weighed a little less at the combine, was probably starving or not drinking that much. But dude ran like a 5'11" at that size, which is ridiculous. He's an insane athlete. And then you have Tristan Wirfs, who is 6'5" and 322 pounds and ran a 4'8". So another really athletic offensive tackle. Both guys bring something unique to the table. But for me right now, it's Wirfs, who's the best tackle in this class. So I have the Giants going with Wirfs.
I agree with that pick. He's also my top tackle, and I think when it comes time to play football, you have to protect your franchise quarterback in Daniel Jones. Wirfs makes perfect sense at 4. At 5, pretty easy pick here. Dolphins get their franchise quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama. Pretty easy pick with or without the medical issues concerning Tua. I don't think he'll play right away. He'll take some time to sit. We've seen him say that he's okay with sitting. And that's what you want to hear from a young kid. And I think Tua has made sense for Miami for a long time, and I think it's bound to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Tua is a solid player, and he was recently cleared for football activities anyway. So another guy that brings uniqueness to the table and his ability to move in the pocket, has a good arm and really good accuracy. So I like Tua a lot for the Dolphins. Here at 6, it's clear that Rivers won't re-sign with the Chargers. He's on his way out the door, and that means you got to bring in a new quarterback. And while you could argue that the offensive line is a bigger need for the Chargers, you cannot argue that the quarterback is a less important position than offensive tackle. It is a quarterback's league. The Chargers are going to get their quarterback of the future, and that's going to be Justin Herbert out of Oregon. Max, I'll let you take the analysis for this one because I know you're a big fan of Herbert's. What does he bring to the table?
Herbert brings a rocket arm. He brings athleticism. A lot of people say that he doesn't have great accuracy, but when Herbert is on, he has great accuracy, and I know you might say, well, when he's on and when he's off, it's two very different things, but that's normal for a guy coming out of college. So I think if Herbert has the opportunity to sit behind somebody, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or a free agent, I think he'll benefit a lot from that. And I think he just needs to learn in an NFL system, get accustomed to it, and the accuracy will come, the smarts will come. And I think Justin Herbert is going to be a very good quarterback in this league.
All right, who's your pick at 7?
So at 7, we have a trade here. It is originally the Carolina Panthers. We have the Las Vegas Raiders trading picks 12, 80, and 91, two of their three third-round picks, and then one of their two first-round picks for this seventh overall pick. That is because Isaiah Simmons, freak of nature, he recently said, I don't need to play a position, I just play defense. Isaiah Simmons, if he falls down the board, I think it would make perfect sense for the Raiders to shoot up the board and grab him. He fits this team very well. I'm going Isaiah Simmons here at 7.
Yeah, that's easy. Just like you said, a freak of nature, super talented, can play edge, can play linebacker, can play nickel, can play safety, really can do it all. So a solid fit, and a guy that I feel like Gruden is going to love in his defensive scheme. Here at 8, Derek Brown is enticing, as well as Mekhi Becton, perhaps, but to me, pairing Kyler Murray and CeeDee Lamb is just too hard to pass up on, especially when you recently re-signed DJ Humphrey, who showed flashes of being a starting caliber offensive tackle last year for the Cardinals. So I think that bringing him back is a big move for them, and it enables them to focus on offensive line later in the draft and pick best player available here, and that is far and away CeeDee Lamb. Great route runner, even better at making the big play down the field, insane run after catch, can really go up and get the football. So I think CeeDee Lamb brings a lot to the table, and obviously Kyler and him already have that chemistry.
He's a threat to score every single time he touches the ball, and Kyler's going to be banging on the table if CeeDee's available at 8. At 9, we contemplated trade here, decided against it because, as you mentioned, Derek Brown is very enticing. The Jaguars, who have been making a lot of moves recently, traded A.J. Bouye, traded Jalen Ramsey. Okudah is not available, so that top need of cornerback's not going to get filled. Traded Calais Campbell, might not have Yannick Ngakoue on roster, got rid of Marcel Darius. So Derek Brown makes perfect sense. Defensive tackle out of Auburn. He is a huge guy, 6'5", 318, and he's pretty quick at that size. Seems like a no-brainer here at 9 for me, Derek Brown, a Jacksonville Jaguar.
Yeah, it is a no-brainer, super talented, can play 3-4, can play 4-3 if you want to slide him fully into defensive tackle. Great pass rusher and great run stopper, really versatile player. So I like him a lot to the Jaguars. Here at 10, it's a no-brainer, Mekhi Becton to the Browns. Like I already mentioned his size and athleticism earlier. Fantastic blocker, and with that size comes talent, and you can't teach the talent that this kid has. So I think the Browns, whose offensive line struggled immensely last year, gets a solid player to bring in who can definitely be a starting caliber offensive tackle in this league.
The Jets, another franchise quarterback to protect, like we discussed at 4 when Tristan Wirfs went to the Giants. I'm going to go Jedrick Wills here from Bama, who is regarded as the top tackle at some points during the season. But as you see in draft season a lot, the guys who have been consistent throughout their college careers, like Wirfs, seem to find their way back up the board. Jedrick Wills here at 11 is a great pick. I don't think you can go wrong with these top 3 guys at tackle. Wills at 11 makes perfect sense, especially in protecting Sam Darnold.
Yeah, you could go either direction, Wills, Wirfs, or Becton, and I wouldn't argue against any of those. All 3 players are capable, and all 3 players make the case to be the best tackle in this class. But luckily for the Jets, they get a solid player in Jedrick Wills at 11. Here at 12, this is tough because interior defensive lineman is a need, and you have one of the best interior defensive linemen we've seen in a while in Javon Kinlaw on the board. Could you go C.J. Henderson if you're the Panthers? Could you even reach and get Jordan Love here? Are you done with the Cam Newton era? There's a lot of questions to be answered in Carolina. Also, another team that feels like they're in a rebuilding phase here. But I feel like getting Javon Kinlaw is a solid fit for the Panthers. Super talented player. Like I said about Derek Brown, not only is he a run stopper, but he's also a pass rusher. And that's something we don't see out of defensive tackles a lot. And we have 2 very unique ones in this class, 2 very athletic ones. So I think it's going to be fun to watch these 2 guys grow in the NFL. And I think they'll both be really good players.
And thanks to Aaron Donald, athletic defensive tackles are more of a hot commodity and continue to be. You could also see, this is obviously the fallout from the trade that the Panthers had with the Raiders. I could also see them trading back again if they don't like where they sit with Kinlaw at 12 for more assets, but Kinlaw at 12 is also a great fit. Here at 13, this is another trade. The Eagles hop up from 21 and they package that with 53 to move up to 13 with a trade with the Colts to get a guy that they have been rumored to be extremely interested in for a long time. And you look at the wide receiver board, you say, why not Jerry Jeudy? Because the Eagles need speed on their offense. Carson Wentz needs a guy that he can unleash the ball to. And what better guy to get than Henry Ruggs for that? I'm going to go Henry Ruggs, Alabama wide receiver, second receiver off the board at 13 for the Eagles here.
Yeah, you could make the case that, fast doesn't necessarily mean good. And we've seen that with some of the fastest 40 times and some of the fastest players not being that successful in the NFL. But then I can also point to guys like Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Super Bowl champions we're talking about here, guys that really flew on that Chiefs offense and allowed their big arm quarterback and Patrick Mahomes to make plays. That's exactly what Wentz needs. And I'd say that Henry Ruggs is one of the most talented fast receivers because he also has great hands. We've seen him make circus catches. He's a solid route runner. Jukes guys right over the middle, gets open for his quarterback, and I think that's the most important thing for the Eagles right now. They need a consistent wide receiver that can get open on every down, and right now they don't have that. I feel like Ruggs brings that to the table. At 14, another trade, we have the Miami Dolphins trading the 26th overall pick and the 39th overall pick, so that early second rounder and their last first rounder to the Buccaneers. Now the Bucs only had 7 picks in this draft, so this allows them to get a little more draft capital, while also trading back and maybe getting a quarterback later on in the draft, which you'll see a little later. And then this also allows the Dolphins to get the player that they see as the next best edge rusher in this class. Obviously, they're not going to be able to get their hands on Chase Young, but you can get a very athletic edge rusher in Caleb on Chason, super talented at getting to the quarterback, comes off the edge. He's probably the most athletic edge rusher in this class, and he's also pretty good in coverage as well. So I feel like he brings a lot to the table. He's very versatile, and Chason is going to be a solid fit in Miami.
This is a clutch trade for Miami. 16, Atlanta's going to be pounding on the table for edge. Miami here hops them with Tampa Bay, who I think is going to be very willing to trade back. And Miami's got the assets to do it. They have more than enough assets to do it when it comes to draft capital. So that's huge for Miami, getting one of the best players, period, in this draft in Caleb on Chason. I'm going to let you take over for this pick once I make it, because you are the Broncos fan here. They do need to get somebody across from Cortland Sutton. Deshaun Hamilton, Tim Patrick really hasn't worked out for them. Jerry Jeudy, I can pretty comfortably say that it will work out for Denver. 15, Broncos, Drew Lock gets another target. And it creates more unpredictability when you have Phillip Lindsay. So I really like the fit.
Yeah, to me, Jerry Jeudy is a very fun player to watch when he's on the field. You see him with his insane route running capabilities. I would argue that when he comes into the NFL, he's already going to be a top 15 route runner. He's just that good at running routes. His hands are there, can get open. And while you see Cortland Sutton, going down the field, making the big plays, teams are going to get, clue onto that the following year after he had such a breakout year this year. People are going to be doubling him. You're going to see that safety drawn over to him. So you need another guy to go under the middle or over the middle to make plays, and Jerry Jeudy is that guy. You can get open in one-on-one against anyone, I'd argue, and that's going to be very important to Drew Lock getting a target there that he can throw to consistently besides Cortland Sutton. And if Noah Fant continues to develop the way we saw him develop at the end of the year, then this Broncos receiving core can be probably one of the best in the NFL.
I think you could say this Broncos offense could be one of the best in the NFL. 16, like I mentioned, Atlanta is going to want this is your pick right here. This is your pick.
I was just going to kind of let you roll, but yeah, it is my pick. We're going to go with AJ Epineza here, edge rusher out of Iowa. Guy is underrated in the fact that he's been sliding down boards. He's still a premier edge rusher in this draft class. Not only is he good at getting to the quarterback, but he's also super talented at run stopping. So I think that what he brings to the table is very exciting for the Falcons to get. They really haven't had a super good edge rusher. Obviously, the Vic Beasley experiment didn't work out. Tack McKinley has been all right, but I feel like getting Epinesa is a solid fit for the Falcons.
Falcons just need defensive help. And like you mentioned, Epinesa is going down boards. I think that's because Chaison's been rising all year long. And I think the Falcons will be very happy if Epinesa falls to them at 16. 17, the Cowboys, they have free agency to focus on, but once this draft happens, I do still think cornerback is going to be a need that they do need to address. I'm going CJ Henderson, who has continued to become more and more separate in my mind from Christian Fulton in the cornerback 2, cornerback 3 conversation behind Okudah, obviously. So I'm going Henderson here, and I think you could see Henderson go anywhere from 9 to 17. And I think if Henderson ends up in Dallas, he'll be a plug-in and play on that defense. Dallas has had some cornerback issues in the past. And so I think CJ Henderson, who plays very good in all different types of coverages, I think Henderson is a great fit at 17.
Yeah, super talented player, blanket coverage, like you said. Big fan of his, and I think it's a solid fit for Dallas, who is losing Byron Jones. All right, here at 18, third pick in the first round, third pick in the top 20 for the Dolphins. They're making money moves so far in this draft, and they're going to get the best offensive tackle remaining, probably the best run-blocking offensive tackle in this class, and that's Andrew Thomas. Great size, great athleticism, super fun to watch, and I think what he's been known as one of the best offensive tackles in this class since the start of last year. We've seen him all over people's boards. He's gone from probably the best tackle in the class, and he's fallen to the 4th spot. But that doesn't mean he's not still a great player. I think he's going to bring something that Laramie Tunsil brought to Miami, which is consistent pass blocking and consistent run blocking. He might not be as good as a Laramie Tunsil, but I think he can develop into a good player.
I like Andrew Thomas, and I think that, before the season, everybody saw him as their offensive tackle number 1. This season obviously didn't really help him. And the growth of Wills and Becton, just the whole season Becton had in the draft process so far for him has been great to him, including and especially the combine. Thomas at 18, you could view it as a steal here for Miami. Miami gets a huge upgrade all across their team. They get their franchise quarterback for the future. They get a guy that's probably going to develop into an amazing edge rusher in Chaisson, and then Thomas, who can hold down the fort, especially after losing Tunsil. So at 19, Las Vegas, I've been pairing these two together for a long time, and that's Justin Jefferson and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are in need of a wide receiver. It's been known since AB left town. And Justin Jefferson, in my mind, has passed Laviska Shenault on my wide receiver board. And I think he has cemented himself as the top guy behind the big 3 of Ruggs, Judy, and Lamb. So I'm going Jefferson here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Jay Jets. I was at that LSU versus Oklahoma game where it was the Jay Jets show. Scored 4 touchdowns, lit it up. Super fun to watch, and I think I love his story too. He was a 2-star recruit out of high school, came into LSU as an underdog, and then by senior year, finally he got into that passing system, unlike the Les Miles system, which was running on 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down. Was able to create plays, go deep, go over the middle, and I like Jets a lot for the Raiders. All right, so at 20, we have the Jaguars with their second pick. They've already gotten Derek Brown, who is far and away the best interior defensive lineman in this class. Now they can either go cornerback or they could go safety. Now, if I'm blanking on the name now, CJ Henderson was still on the board, then I could see them going corner. But now that He's not. Is it worth getting a guy, in my opinion, which would be a reach in Christian Fulton? No, I think they're going to go with the best safety in this class, and that's going to be Xavier McKinney out of Alabama.
X coming off the board at 20. I love it. I could also see them going, obviously, if Brown was taken, I could see them going corner safety. This is a secondary that they need to rebuild fast. So if they want to contend anytime soon, and I think McKinney is a great help in doing that. The Colts at 21 traded down to this point. The Colts, they do need wide receiver. They could grab QB here. I do think it's a little early for them to go QB. But I don't really see a fit in Shenault. I don't see a fit in Higgins. I don't see a fit in Mims. So I think I am going to go with Jordan Love here at 21. They did trade down, and I think Jordan Love is a good fit in this offense. And I think sitting for a year is definitely going to help Jordan Love if they can arrange that, whether it's through Phillip Rivers or any other quarterback, whether it's a guy that's already on roster or a free agent. I think Jordan Love to the Colts is waiting to happen. I love that fit for Jordan Love. And I think it would be really good for both sides.
Yeah. So here I feel like this is going to be the start of the wide receiver run in the 20 to 30-ish range in the first round. I feel like we're going to see a lot of these, maybe second-tier wide receivers besides Jerry Jeudy, CD, and Ruggs start to fly off the board. And the first one's going to be Denzel Mims to me, to Buffalo. Mims is a guy that I like a lot. He's talented. Lit it up at the combine. Someone that we probably didn't even expect to be a first-round pick at the start of this process comes in, lights it up at the combine. I think he ran like a 4.39 at 6'3", 206, which is absurd. Super talented, and I think that what he brings to the table for the Bills is a consistent catcher. Obviously John Brown played some of his best ball of what we saw last year in Buffalo, but I feel like you need to get younger, and getting a guy like Denzel Mims can be your wide receiver. You can pair him with Josh Allen early on in both their careers and really build a dynamic duo between both these guys.
Watch Denzel Mims' highlight reel when Charlie Brewer is still at quarterback before getting hurt in those last couple games. He was incredible. In the red zone, he was a nightmare. I love Denzel Mims, and he's climbed so far up my board. And I think in Buffalo with Josh Allen, you couldn't draw it up better. 23, the Pats are a wide receiver needy team, but I'm not going to go in that direction. I'm going to grab Yetur Gross-Matos off the board, who is a guy that I'm starting to like from Penn State. I used to think of him as overrated, but you look at the tape and he just seems refined. He seems more grown up than the guy across from him. He has a good head on his shoulders. He's smart with his moves. And I think that's exactly a guy that Bill Belichick is trying to bring in. And I think Gross-Matos would be a great pair up with Belichick in his defense in New England.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. You get two really young edge rushers. I guess Chase Winovich is more of a run stopper, but two really young guys along your defensive line, both Big Ten guys that can grow and develop. And I think that Yetur Gross-Matos, like you said, everything you heard from him at the combine was his interviews went great. You heard that throughout the entire week. He's a great character, and I feel like that's something that the Patriots are looking for. Obviously, they like their projects when it comes to Randy Moss, but I think Belichick likes guys that are already well-groomed, are going to come into the locker room, do their job, be a good teammate, and I think that's what Yetur Gross-Matos is. And not to mention, he put up really good production at Penn State this year, close to the top of the nation in tackles for loss. So I think that's something to look out for. And like you said, I think he's a solid player. Here at 24, another match that I like a lot is Laviska Shenault to the New Orleans Saints. That's the team that we're thinking of here. Super talented, a guy that maybe his production wasn't as great as it's been due to the fact that he was getting triple teamed all year in the Pac-12. But Laviska Shenault is super talented, and I like him a lot to the Saints.
You've seen the Saints get these versatile guys time and time again. Laviska Shenault can return the ball. He played a lot of wildcat quarterback at Colorado. He played all over the field, jet sweeps, and then he can just go downfield and grab it. Short game, he's there too. And I think it would be a great guy to have in an offense with Michael Thomas. And if you had him on the field in the backfield with Taysom Hill, I think that would be horrifying.
Deebo Samuel
I think
type player.
Yeah, he is a Deebo Samuel type player. And I think Sean Payton's going to be licking his chops if Chenault's still on the board at 24.
Yeah.
25, you have the Minnesota Vikings. This is a team that does need corner. They just cut Xavier Rhodes, so I think it's a perfect fit. I'm going to go Christian Fulton here from LSU. I did say that Henderson separated himself as my cornerback too. That's a little on Fulton. That's a little on Henderson having a good season. But I still don't think that. I still don't think that Fulton is going to fall out of round one.
No, and I made the joke about being burnt toast, and that was really only in the national championship game versus Clemson. But throughout his entire career, he's had one of the highest Pro Football Focus defensive back ratings. Breaks up passes all the time, really good in coverage. He just kind of fell apart there versus Clemson. But regardless, I still think
the tackling at some points gets him, and it's been seen with LSU secondary players when draft time comes time and time again. Recently with Williams, Greedy Williams, it's happening to Fulton and Delpit right now. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes. But I like him at 25.
Yeah, I think it's a solid fit, regardless of the tackling. I think he's still really good in coverage. At 26
if Fulton isn't on the board, could you see them getting Diggs?
I mean, just for the fun of it, yeah. I feel like Stephon would love that, but I feel like again, it's not a player's decision. It's who's going to make you the best. So I would even see them maybe trading back or even reaching on a guy like Neville Gallimore because they do need help along their interior defensive line. So I feel like it's whatever Minnesota is going to deem necessary. And I feel like Diggs is kind of falling out of the first round due to the fact that he's probably the slowest corner in this class. So just something to look out for. Here, one of my favorite offensive tackles, probably one of the most athletic offensive tackles in this class, Josh Jones, is going to get snuck into the first round here. And yes, you could argue maybe the Bucs go Eason. Maybe they look to repair the quarterback now, but I don't see a team picking Eason before their pick in the second round that they traded for with the Dolphins. So I feel like now they get a player that will probably be picked, if not in the first round, then in the first few picks of the second round, and that's Josh Jones. I like what he brings to the table, and obviously the Buccaneers need offensive tackle.
I like that Josh Jones pick a lot too. I think you've seen a lot of the debate between him and Austin Jackson. If one of them is going to hop into round one, I like Jones a lot better than Austin Jackson. People like to say, or people use the Iowa game, the bowl game with Austin Jackson to try to talk him up, but he did get beat a lot by Epinesa. And yes, I know it's Epinesa, but it's still not what you want to see. You would have rather Austin Jackson have won that battle. So I don't think that being his last game helps him. And I think Josh Jones from Houston is more likely to go into round one. 27, Seattle. This is a versatile player. They do need edge. With or without Clowney being gone. Don't think they'll bring Anza back. I like Zach Bond from Wisconsin a lot. He can play tons of different positions, 3-4, 4-3. He'll line up anywhere you want him to along that front seven edge setup. And I think it makes perfect sense at 27 to Seattle.
Zach Bond off the board here. It is my pick, but you are the Ravens fan, so I'm going to let you take your pick. Obviously, it's linebacker. Which one of these guys are you going with?
I like Queen better. I think he's a better coverage guy, and I think he is able to just run with wide receivers more, and you saw it with the last two middle linebackers we had in Baltimore. C.J. Mosley, coverage liability. Patrick Owasu was a coverage liability this year. I think they're going to need to change that.
Yeah, I like the pick a lot for the Ravens at 28. Here at 29, we have the Titans up. This is a team that we could see trading down in my mind. Maybe Eason would have been mocked here in the past, but now with that new Ryan Tannehill deal, I don't see that happening. Could edge be the play? Could you get Terrell Lewis? Could you get a guy that I think should be much higher on boards than Curtis Weaver? But when it comes down to it, I feel like they're going to need to get an interior offensive lineman, and that's going to be Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan.
I love Ruiz. I think I don't know if it's not clear to me yet whether or not he's going to go in round one, and mock drafts everywhere you see him in round one, early round two. He's going to be in this like 25 to 45 range. Chicago is at 43 in round two. I don't think he's going past that. But Ruiz he's got one of the biggest fall to rise ranges when it comes to where he's going to come off the board.
Yeah.
29, Tennessee. I'm going Terrell Lewis. They need edge rusher, and Terrell Lewis out of Alabama seems like a perfect fit. I know you like Weaver.
Shows that.
And I like Weaver a lot. Yeah.
Buddy, we just picked the Titans.
Oh, my bad. Green Bay, excuse me. Green Bay, they do need wide receiver. And I'm going to go T. Higgins. T. Higgins is the best wide receiver on the board. I know a lot of people like Ayuk. His 40 time didn't help him. And Rieger also was supposed to run a very fast 40. His wasn't great either. And T. Higgins is just one of the more complete wide receivers.
Yeah. I'll let you take 31 so we can get back into our order here. We kind of get out of order when you pick for the Ravens. Wanted you to take that one. So who do you have at 31 here for San Fran?
I like Delpit, top safety off the board, on the board right now. I still have McKinney as my top safety. There's the tackling concerns. I think he can get over that. We've seen safeties with tackling concerns get over that in the past, and Delpit is played at such a high level for so long at LSU. And I think that he's bound to go to San Francisco, wherever they pick.
Yeah, so wrapping up the first round, and obviously the first round is the most important round of the draft, so we went into a lot of detail there. We'll make the descriptions of our second round players very short and sweet, get to the point, and same with the third round players. So wrapping up the first round, we're going to go with Jonathan Taylor, who lit it up at the combine. I've been saying that he's the best running back in this class forever. Feels like a lot of people are kind of going along with that after his combine performance. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins and DeAndre Swift are still top-tier players, and you could argue either one of them, and I would agree with you. Or, I mean, I could see your point of view, but to me, Jonathan Taylor is the clear-cut best running back in this class.
I think I still have Dobbins as my top running back, but I could see either Swift, Dobbins, or Taylor going first off the board. It just depends which team is picking and who they think best fits their offense.
Yeah. All right, so 33. Starting off with the second round, who you got?
33, you got Joe Burrow. Now he needs somebody to throw to. Yeah, you do have A.J. Green back. I still think you need somebody else. I'm going to go Jalen Reagor.
Jalen Reagor, speed burner out of TCU. At 34, we were, debating whether to get a wide receiver in the first round for the Colts. Could they go interior defensive line? We went with Jordan Love. So now, while you could argue KJ Hamler here, I think one of the best interior defensive linemen is still on the board, and that's Neville Gallimore. And I think it's just too good to pass up on. Not to mention, this is a very deep wide receiver class. If you're the Colts, you pick again at 44, so you can always get a wide receiver then. So that pick makes sense to me.
Lions, you could have picked Isaiah Simmons at 3. They have Kenneth Murray available at 35. Absolute no-brainer. My second linebacker, but he's still a first-round caliber player in my mind. Lions get a steal here.
Yeah, like that pick a lot. Here, as much as I love Curtis Weaver, and when we do eventually pick Curtis, I'll explain to you why I think he is the better player. But Terrell Lewis seems to be higher on everyone's draft board, so Terrell Lewis here for the Giants.
All right. So the Chargers at 37. They do need tackle. You got your quarterback. Now you have to protect him. TDN has Ezra Cleveland and Lucas Niang above Austin Jackson. I like Austin Jackson the best out of these three. California kid already. Stays home state. Chargers bringing him in at 37.
Yeah, I mocked this a while ago, and now it's falling into place again. I do believe that Matt Rule is going to invest in Cam Newton for at least one more year, or maybe the reports are true where the Panthers are going full in on tanking and getting Trevor Lawrence next year. Regardless, I don't think they're going to get Easton here. I think they're going to go Jeff Gladney, cornerback out of TCU, super talented player, more of a man guy than a zone guy.
Bruce Arians' time has come to get his guy at 39. Jacob Eason is still here. I love this fit for Eason more than any other team. Reminds me a little bit of Winston with the kind of carefree, he's going to sling it everywhere mentality, but the stats at Washington and the stats at Georgia didn't rack up nearly the amount of interceptions. And I think Arians really, really likes Eason.
Yeah, at 40, I'm going to go offensive tackle. Mentioned it earlier. They got to protect Kyler Murray, but CeeDee Lamb was just too good to pass up on. So now they're going Lucas Niang, offensive tackle out of TCU.
New Canaan, Connecticut product right there. And at 41, the Browns, I'm going to go safety here. I had Ashton Davis higher than Antoine Winfield. That has changed in my mind now. I love Winfield. As much as I like Davis, I think Winfield is the better player out of these top two safeties that are going to come off in round 2. I'm going Winfield to Cleveland, 41.
So Jags waited to get corner. They got Xavier and they got Derek Brown. Now you get Trayvon Diggs to me, the next best corner on the board.
The Bears at 43. I think you have to open up run lanes. They couldn't run the ball last year. I'm going to go guard. I'm going to go Lloyd Cushenberry from LSU, second best guard in this class behind Cesar Ruiz at 43.
Yeah, I would go guard or tight end there. I think a lot of the top, or all of the top tight ends are still on the board, but Cushenberry is definitely a top 40 player to me. So I think getting him at 43 is a nice pick. Here I mentioned wide receiver. You could get a wide receiver at 44, and now they are going to go that route, get KJ Hamler for Phillip Rivers or Jacoby Brissett or whoever's throwing the ball, or Jordan Love in Indianapolis next year.
Speed burner right there, 45. You just picked Jacob Eason. Now going to the other side of the ball, interior defensive line. I love Ross Blacklock out of TCU. He's got great moves. He can rush the pass. He blows up a lot of runs, screen passes. I love him out of TCU.
Yeah, here at 46, wide receiver was obviously the most pressing need for the Broncos. Now you got AJ Boye, so maybe corner isn't that pressing, but the rest of that cornerback core still isn't great to me. There's still a lot of holes. So I think getting the next best cornerback available to me, and that is Jalen Johnson from Utah, is the most important pick here for the Broncos.
I'm going to stay on the corner run at 47. The Falcons need defense. I cannot say his last name, but we're going to call him Noah as they call him Albert O from the tight end from Missouri. We're going to go Noah at 47.
Yeah, I like that pick. At 11, or not 11, at 48, you could have argued that Caleb on Chason could have been the pick at 11 for the Jets. Now they're going to get Curtis Weaver, a guy that I'll go over this quick. Had 11 sacks his freshman year, 9 sacks his sophomore year, and 13.5 sacks his junior year. Those are some of the most consistent sack numbers out of any edge rusher in college football. I mean, he's just so consistent. I think he's a first-round player, and definitely going to be a steal wherever he goes.
49, Pittsburgh. You could go a lot of different directions here. I'm going to go tight end, and I'm going to go with my top tight end on the board, and that's Adam Troutman from Dayton, a guy that can do everything, and he is probably the best blocking tight end in this class. Showcased his blocking at the combine. Troutman's a great fit for Pittsburgh at 49.
Blocking tight ends are back. George Kittle has brought them back. So I'm going to go continuing with that tight end run here. I think that Bryson Hopkins out of Purdue is the next best tight end in this class and super talented. He's actually my tight end number 1. So steal for the Bears there. You need someone in that position to get open more consistently than Trey Burton has.
51. Cowboys got to rebuild that secondary. I'm going to go safety right here. Ashton Davis is still on the board. I think it's a no-brainer if he's still there at 51.
Yeah. Here at 52, it's kind of a toss-up again. I would go maybe edge, maybe offensive tackle, even safety for the Rams could be a possibility. But I'll do They have Ezra Cleveland rated so high in here, but to me, Prince Tegawinoho is still the higher rated prospect on my board for the
I
Rams.
agree. I agree with that. And then the Colts picking at 53. For me, it's guard or edge rusher. I like Matt Hennessy out of Temple, but I'm going to go edge here, and I'm going to take Joshua Uche from Michigan, a player that's rose high a lot recently for me. So I think at 53 is where he's going to come off here, but I think he could go even higher than that.
Yeah, I like that pick for the Colts a lot. I think he's a guy like Caleb Chason who brings athleticism to that edge rushing position. Here at 54, I'm actually going to go AJ Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. Bills secondary is kind of in shambles right now. I mean, you could argue they have some young prospects, but besides Tre'Davious White, I think, and obviously the two safeties in Hyde and Poyer, I think that the cornerback group is young and inconsistent. I think Terrell, who has a lot of room to grow, obviously, but is still going to be a fast learner in that defense, is a solid fit.
Falcons, their third pick. I'm going to just keep working down this line of defensive needs here. Interior defensive line. I like Davis, like Matabuke, but Marlon Davidson is the most versatile guy left at this position. Guy from Auburn. I'm going to go in that direction. And he is moving up a lot of people's boards very fast.
Yeah. Here I'm just going to DeAndre Swift. Enough said.
Yep. Houston, right back at you. J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I agree with that. Super talented player. Here, the Vikings got corner first round. I think they're going to go guard second round. You mentioned a guy in Matt Hennessy, and I think that's going to be the pick for the Vikings here.
Seattle does need help on that offensive line. And they do have Ezra Cleveland very high, and I personally think Isaiah Wilson is a younger talent. He is kind of a work in progress player, but I think that's Seattle's type. I'm going to go Wilson here at 59.
Sorry, I missed that whole spiel.
Isaiah Wilson.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Interior offensive lineman is a need right now for the Ravens, but I think interior defensive lineman is a more pressing need, and Raekwon Davis is a guy that I like a lot. Was a first-round caliber player at the start of the season, obviously kind of fell off without his buddy Quinnen Williams, and they're helping Raekwon's production, but still a solid player.
I love that pick as a Ravens fan, and here at 61, I think Ezra Cleveland finally comes off the board. They just got Ryan Tannehill, so why not protect him with this tackle out of Boise State here?
You saw them get a wide receiver in the first round. Now they're coming back, getting another pass catcher in the second round, and that's going to be Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame.
Chiefs, you went running back. I think you could have also gone with a corner in that position. I'm going to go Damon Arnett from Ohio State, one of the more fiery players in this class, plays with a lot of passion, can get him in trouble sometimes with penalties, but I like Damon Arnett, and we've seen it with Marcus Peters in the past work in KC, so I don't think they'll be scared. Yeah,
here at 64, DPJ is coming off the board. Still some premier wide receivers left, and that just shows you how deep this wide receiver class is. So I'm going DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Michigan, to Seattle to play alongside Lockett and DK Metcalf.
First pick for Cincinnati in round 3. I'm going to go with a guy who plays on the other side of the ball, edge rusher Julian Okwara, a guy that he's bounced all over the place for me. At some point, I had him in round 1. Here he is coming off the board, first pick of round 3 at 65.
Yeah, now the Redskins are up on the clock. Offensive tackle is a need, but I think with such a deep wide receiver class, you have to consider getting a guy that's super talented. Obviously, they're done with Paul Richardson. The whole Josh Doctson scenario and situation did not work out. Now you're left with a really good rookie wide receiver who's now a second-year wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. Why not pair him up with Brandon Ayuk?
Here at 67, you have Detroit. It's linemen on which side of the ball, though. I don't know yet, so we're going to check out the classes. I like Jonah Jackson out of Ohio State. I think him or Robert Hunt would be the pick, but I'm going to go Jackson. I think he's a more complete player, and he really came on strong at the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to go another wide receiver here for the Jets, and that's going to be Michael Pittman Jr., super talented player. And the Jets need another really good wide receiver, and I think Pittman, who was up for wide receiver of the year finalist, is a solid player, and the Jets can get a steal here at 68.
69 here, Carolina.
Nice.
We've talked about cornerback. Don't think it's going to happen. Luke Kuechly shocked the world when he retired. They need a linebacker here. I like Malik Harrison a little more than Jordan Brooks, so I'm going to go in that direction at 69.
Yeah, at 70 here, we're going to get a cornerback that was a first-round prospect for a little bit in the season, Bryce Hall out of Virginia.
Plagued by injuries recently, but that's not going to take away from his talent. The Chargers, they are probably going to lose Melvin Gordon. He could end up going to Miami, who just picked. I'm going to go with an offensive guard to open up the run lanes for Austin Eckler. Robert Hunt out of Louisiana. Could have gone with him at 67. I'll go with him here at 71.
I'm going Justin Matabuk, probably pronounced that wrong, for the Cardinals. A super talented player, probably a second-round talent in my opinion. Kind of just fell based off team needs, but I like that pick a lot for the Cardinals.
73 here. I'm going to go with a linebacker. This is a player I love. I don't know why they have him so low. I'm going to go with Troy Dye out of Oregon, an extremely versatile player. Miles Jack needs some help in that front seven, so we'll get a linebacker to play next to him.
Yeah, back-to-back linebackers here. The Browns obviously aren't re-signing Joe Sherbert. So while Mack Wilson, was probably one of the better rookies this year, I think you need a guy to play alongside him. And Jordan Brooks is very talented, and so is Willie Gay Jr., but probably one of the most consistent tacklers in this entire class is Evan Weaver, and he's my next best linebacker.
He's my next best linebacker, too. Love that pick. The Colts don't necessarily need interior offensive line. I'm going to actually go tight end. We've seen a lot of injuries for them in the past at that position, and then Ravens kind of made that 3 tight end look thing more popular, and I think the Colts are going to catch on to that. I'm going to go with a guy that I think is very underrated, like him a lot, Harrison Bryant out of Florida Atlantic. I think you're going to see him rise up boards a lot. They have him very low on this, but I think he is a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, no, I feel like TDN here, the site that we're using, underrates him. I feel like a lot of people have him as one of those top players. Here's a guy that I still think is a second-round talent, Tyler Biadasz, still on the board here. For Wisconsin, I think it's a solid third-round pick for them. Probably a steal at 76.
Completely agree with that. Denver, you could go offensive tackle here. Looking at the class, though, some of the not many of the best guys still there. I'm actually going to go with defensive tackle here. Rashard Lawrence from LSU is an absolute stud. Really one of the unsung heroes of that defense that won the national championship, and I think it's a good fit for Denver.
Yeah, speaking of that national championship team, I feel like it's time to move on from Devontae Freeman. I feel like we might see a trade even in this offseason, and that means Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's even on the borderline first-round talent, in my opinion, is going to go here at third-round player, probably the best pass-catching running back in this class, super talented, and I like him a lot.
79, the Jets. I think it's finally Cameron Dantzler's time to come off the board out of Mississippi State. One of those fringe round 2-3 guys. I think makes perfect sense for the Jets to grab a corner.
Yeah, we've been steering away from quarterback to the Panthers, but I think it's now Jalen Hurts' time to shine. Get that Cam Newton replacement, same scheme, same type of player. Now I'm blanking on the coach's name. Who did they just... Matt Rule. Once Matt Rule gets used to having Cam Newton at quarterback, it's going to be hard to get away from having such a versatile quarterback. So Jalen Hurts is that guy in Carolina.
I'm obsessed with this fit. At 81, Kyle Duggar out of Lenoir-Rhyme seems like a Las Vegas Raider already. Something about the way he plays his play style just reminds me of the way the old Raiders defenses would have done it. And I think at 81, it's a steal.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. Now it's getting low, or there's not that much talent left in the interior defensive line position, which is the Cowboys' next need, in my opinion, as it is in TDN's opinion, as you can see. But I think Lakai Fotu, who is underrated out of Utah, has that great hair, Troy Polamalu-esque hair, had put up consistent production, great year at Utah along that really good Utah defensive line. I think Lakai Fotu is an underrated player and definitely worth a third-round pick.
I think so too. Broncos at 83. I'm going to go Matthew Peart from UConn. I think that's the next best offensive tackle available. For me, it's kind of a drop-off after him at 83, and I think Denver could definitely use that.
Yeah. At 84, the Rams' second pick in the draft, they're going to go edge rusher here. And to me, it's going to be Jabari Zuniga, who to me is better than Jonathan Grenard. I think Jonathan Grenard is slower off the edge, doesn't have as good technique, and Jabari Zuniga is more of an athletic type player. So I like that pick for the Rams.
85 here. I'm going to go linebacker for the Eagles. And for me, I like Jordan Brooks a little bit better than Willie Gay Jr. Out of Texas Tech, one of those Big 12 defense guys, but he held his own throughout the season in that Big 12 with those high-powered offenses.
Yeah, I agree with that. At 86, we have some defensive needs for the Bills, and Jonathan Grenard, the next Florida edge rusher, off the board, right behind his guy, Jabari Zuniga.
The Pats here, I'm going to go with a pass catcher. It's going to be a tight end. I like Thaddeus Moss. Randy Moss was obviously a New England Patriot, and he's a great blocker. So at 80, he's also great at catching the ball. You saw him showcase that in the college football playoff. So at 87, I think Thaddeus Moss is a great pick for New England.
Yeah, at 88, I have the Saints going linebackers to be Willie Gay Jr. out of Mississippi State, one of those leaders on that Mississippi State defense, and I think he's a really fun player.
Here at 89, I'm actually going to go wide receiver. The Vikings have had that core in Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, but they tried Laquan Treadwell. That didn't work out. As a wide receiver 3, I'm going to go Chase Claypool, who lit it up at the combine. I think he could go much higher than 89. And I think he's a great player and makes a lot of sense for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, here at 90, the Texans already took their running back of the future. Now they have a lot of needs. I think interior offensive lineman that was going to be the pick here, and it's going to be Natane Muti, a Fresno State guy, a guy that I have as a second-round player.
The bench press king right there from the combine. The Panthers, it's going to be a safety for me. Jeremy Chin from Southern Illinois, one of those small school prospects that continues to rise. Him and Kyle Duggar kind of coming up the boards together. And at 91 seems like the lowest he could be picked, in my opinion, or the highest if you're talking about draft pick number.
This is a guy that is an early third rounder to me, Nick Harris, for the Baltimore Ravens. Their exterior offensive linemen, their tackles are fantastic. Now they just have to bulk up that interior offensive line, and I think Nick Harris can slide in and start right away.
Especially after Yanda's recent retirement. I'm going to continue on that trend of interior offensive linemen. I'm going to go with Logan Sternberg, who is referred to, I just learned, as Stenny by his teammates. He's huge, out of Kentucky. And if you're going to have your offense run through a game manager quarterback and Derrick Henry, why not add to your interior offensive line?
Yeah. Here at 94, I think offensive tackle is the most pressing need. And Ben Barch, the small school kid out of St. John, drank probably the grossest smoothie. That was his big storyline at the combine. It was like Gatorade and eggs and all that.
Horrifying.
But really performed well, and a lot of people see him being a starter in this league. So I like that pick a lot for the Packers.
The Broncos here, not a linebacker, I think makes the most sense by far. And And I really, really like Akeem Davis-Gaither out of Appalachian State. He's everywhere when anyone needs to be tackled. He came up huge for an Appalachian State team that really turned a lot of heads this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go back-to-back linebackers here. Joe Backey or Beachy or whatever out of Michigan State. Another guy that's been a consistent player for his entire career at Michigan State, been a consistent starter and a really good tackler. So I think he's definitely worth the third round pick here for the Chiefs.
I'm going to go with a very Browns pick right here. I'm going to go wide receiver. Not necessarily a big need, but I don't know how much they can deal with Antonio Callaway's inconsistency and constant off-the-field trouble. I don't know if they can deal with that for much longer. And I'm going to go with Tyler Johnson out of Minnesota, a guy that I really like. And once you get to the round 3 wide receivers, you could really go in any order. These guys are all still good. And I think Johnson would be instantly on the field for the Browns.
Yeah, I'm doing another wide receiver. The Patriots are going to bring back Brady. They promised him weapons. And to me, Devin Duvernay is one of the fastest players in this class, one of my favorite players in this class, super athletic. I believe he ran like a 4.39, and it really brings that speed and explosiveness to an offense that needs it.
Here are the Giants at 99. If they're not going to get Clowney, they better get someone to solidify the edge. I really like Bradley Anae out of Utah. You talked about his guy, Leki Fotu, and I like Anae even more than Fotu. I know they play different positions, but Anae was a game wrecker at times coming off the edge for Utah.
Yeah. So the Patriots pick again here. An interior offensive lineman has to be the pick. And to me, it's Shane Lemoy out of Oregon, a guy that probably had a first-round tag at the start of the season. Obviously kind of fell down boards, but I think if he plays guard, he can be good.
Here at 101, I'm going to go Devon Hamilton, the defensive tackle, 6'4", 327 out of Ohio State. Seattle could have gone interior D-line if it was a little more of a deep position in round 1. And here they are at pick 101, and Devon Hamilton is extremely talented, so I don't think it's much of a drop-off.
Yeah, I'm going Nick Coe here at 102 to the Steelers, a guy that I loved out of Auburn, a guy that when he's on the field makes consistent plays. So I think that's what you need to look for here in the third round rather than the guys that had, maybe a good combine. I think it's the consistency on the field, and Nick Coe has that.
I'm going to go Troy Pride Jr., cornerback out of Notre Dame here. The Eagles do need secondary help. There's just better corners on the board than safeties right now. And so I think they're just going to pick their poison there and fill one of those holes here at 103.
Yeah, 104, I'm going safety. Brandon Jones out of Texas is my next best safety, and I like him a lot.
105 here, the Minnesota Vikings. Both interior D-line and offensive tackle could have been picks in round 1 for them. I'm going to go, wow, that's a name. Charles out of LSU, the offensive tackle, solidify that offensive line for the Vikings.
Sadiq Charles. All right, well, final pick in the third round here. It's going to be this is a tough pick, but I feel like the Ravens have to go wide receiver here, and it's going to be a player that I know you like and I like a lot, Lynn Bowden out of Kentucky.
I'm already smiling.
Swiss Army knife, can really do it all, and I think that's a great way to wrap up our draft here.
I think Lynn Bowden is an absolute stud, one of my favorite players in the draft, kind of a dark horse. I would be horrified if he ends up in New England or New Orleans because those are the other teams that love to use those guys. He can do everything. So I would love if he ended up in Baltimore.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's edition of our pre-free agency mock draft. Stay tuned next week for my post-free agency mock draft. Maybe we'll even bring Max back because we just found out that we're out of school until March 31st now, not March 22nd.
Love that.
So it's going to be a little longer for us to make all this content as draft season approaches. Thank you, Max, for coming on, and take it easy, guys.
Thank you.
All right, let me just stop recording. All right.